Hey, buddy, watch this.
A lot of new cards came out in 2015. There were also some old ones that were still dominant in the meta. And these are the 5 cards that really defined the Hearthstone ranked ladder throughout the entire course of 2015. So these cards are the strongest, the most popular, the most dominant, and the most influential cards to me in 2015. Now, of course, yours might differ. You might have some that didn't make this list, but I think these are the ones that we've seen the most of and have had the biggest influence on the game. So, starting out with number 5, you've already seen him. This is the 5th best card in 2015. It's Emperor Thaurissan. This card from Blackrock Mountain is kind of the perfect late game tempo card. It has opened up and enabled so many different kinds of combos and late game decks that can do crazy things. Of course, it helped define Grim Patron Warrior, which we're going to hear some more of later on in the list, but it's still valid today in things like mid-range Druid, cheapening the combo. It's really just great in any game that any deck that plans to get to turn 6 or later. Emperor Thaurissan is going to generate value and open up plays that would otherwise be impossible. So in a world where Miracle Rogue had been shut down and a lot of the combo decks like that were struggling, Emperor Thaurissan brought many of them back into power, including, of course, Grim Patron, but many more since then as well. We've seen Malagos return to the fore. Even Miracle Rogue has made a recovery thanks to Emperor Thaurissan and a few different cards. So he's really just opened up the game in a lot of different ways, and he's one of the only cards from Blackrock Mountain that really took hold in the meta at all. There's really just 4 or 5 that are still around, still played, but this one is definitely at the very top of that list. So, moving on to number 4. This is actually an old card, but still influencing the meta in major ways. This is from Goblins vs. Gnomes, so it's been out since 2014, but 2015 was still very much the year of the Boombot. Dr. Boom, the 7-mana 7/7, of course, is really, to me, still just the very best card in the game. There's no other card that outright changes the scape of a game than does Dr. Boom. Anytime you play it, whether your board is empty or your board is full, it's immediately influential. Even if they have an answer like Big Game Hunter, you still have 2 very powerful and prominent boom bots. It can be frustrating to see Dr. Boom when it's in your opponent's side of the board, but it certainly is welcoming when you find it in your hand and you know you have the ultimate turn 7 play. And there are very few turn 7 plays better than Dr. Boom. He's in aggressive decks as the top end of their curve. He certainly fits into mid-range decks, and he has a home in control decks as well. Dr. Boom is played across the board. He's synonymous with Hearthstone at this point, and even though he's been out for a very long time, he's still one of the top 5 cards in 2015. So moving on to number 3, this is the newest card on the list, brand new with the League of Explorers. It's Reno Jackson. This 6-mana 4/6 has an insane battle cry. If your deck contains no more than 1 of any card, fully heal your hero. Reno Jackson has really slowed down the game to an extent. Of course, there are still aggressive decks, but all kinds of new control decks are enabled thanks to Reno. Particularly, Reno Warlock is extremely prominent and arguably the best deck in Hearthstone to end the year of 2015. And that's all thanks to this heal that allows you to recover in the late game and stabilize in a way that was never before possible. There were never shenanigans that pulled you back 29 health in a single turn, while still actually depositing a very strong 4/6 body onto the board. So Reno Jackson helped kind of balance the metagame and slow things down a little bit. He restored balance to the fourths of Hearthstone, if you will. So Reno Jackson might just be the Jedi of the Hearthstone world. It's a very welcome sight to see, and showing up in lots of decks, and probably so far the most played League of Explorers card. Moving on to number 2, the second best card in 2015 is the Paladin's Mysterious Challenger. This is the only class card on this list, actually, and the only, well, not the only non-legendary, but one of only 2 non-legendaries on this list. So it takes a unique place, and that it's only part of 1 class, and yet it's still the second most influential and important and best card of 2015. Mysterious Challenger is a 6-mana 6/6, which is awfully fine all in its own right, but yet again has an amazing battle cry. Put 1 of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. So this, of course, has defined the secret Paladin deck list that has been dominant ever since the release of TGT and still remains one of the top 3 decks in the metagame today. All thanks to this card right here. You can play it aggressively, you can play it a little bit more defensively in control style secret Paladin lists, but you always have an ultimate turn 6 play that's full of value and very difficult for opponents to deal with. And that has made Secret Paladin a fairly easy deck to pilot, but an incredibly strong one as well. This card should arguably be at Legendary. It's so strong and its effect is so unique. It would certainly make Secret Paladin a much weaker deck to face off against. Might be good for the metagame as well. But I'll leave that up to the geniuses at Blizzard. For now, this is still one of the most dominant and influential cards in the entire year for Hearthstone. But it does not take the #1 spot. That goes to this guy right here. The best card of 2015, the most important card of 2015, the most impactful card of the entire year is Grim Patron. As a 5-mana 3/3, he certainly doesn't look like much, but whenever this minion survives damage, you summon another Grim Patron, which means if you get a few of these on the board and you start paying their health totals, it's very easy to acquire 7 Grim Patrons all at once. And of course, this was never seen better than in the Grim Patron Warrior lists that were dominant throughout much of 2015, essentially shortly after Blackrock Mountain, all the way up until very near the end of the year when Warsong Commander was finally nerfed. Grim Patron was everywhere in tournaments and on the ladder, and the most dominant and common deck that there was. Of course, it was very difficult to play because it required a lot of math and advanced thinking and planning ahead and foresight and resource management, but people who were good at it essentially never lost, which is what made Grim Patron so scary. This card did require Warsong Commander in its old state, which gave any minion that you summoned with 3 or less attack charge, which means you could get out a Grim Patron with a Warsong Commander, you could charge it, and you get an infinite stream of charging Grim Patrons in a single turn, and that's what made the deck so strong, in combination with Frothing Berserker and lots of whirlwind effects. But Warsong Commander was nerfed not too long ago, no longer providing the charge effect, and despite that, Grim Patron Warrior is still so strong that it's an important part of the meta and probably a tier 2 deck at the very worst. So you still see Grim Patrons. Even though its key combo and component was nerfed, it's still good enough to stick around. And that lasting testament to Grim Patron's strength, I think, is the main reason it takes the title. Not just because it was dominant throughout much of the year in the best deck in the game, and probably the best deck the game has ever seen, other than broken stuff from the very early alpha and beta phases, but also still reigns as an important and influential card, even after it was supposedly inadvertently nerfed by Blizzard. Grim Patron still stands out as the best card to me and the most important and influential and recognizable card for the entire year of 2015. So there you have it. Emperor Thaurissan, Dr. Boom, Reno Jackson, Mysterious Challenger, and Grim Patron, your 5 best cards in 2015. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.